Good morning, guys. I remember hearing Tony Robbins in one of his videos a long time ago say that there are 6 psychological needs, human needs, that we all have. And the one that stood out for me was the one where he talks about this need for certainty, the need of knowing that everything is going to be okay. So we all have that. And I believe that one of the things that can improve our lives immensely is understanding some of the stresses, anxieties, worries, doubts, fears that lead to, in some cases, addictions to food, sugar, you name it, anything. We can become addicted to anything. But there's a great power in that addiction. And what it is I believe, is that we have a certainty. We know that if we do that thing, we're going to feel a certain joy, a pleasure. Well, I'm telling you that the greatest certainty we have is that we can use determination and that power and channel it to do something great. Have a great day, everybody.
You have to have a just cause. You have to have trusting teams. You have to have a worthy rival. You have to have a capacity for existential flexibility, and you have to have the courage to lead. So, just cause. We have to give our people something to advance, a cause so just that they would be willing to sacrifice their interests in order to do so. In other words, turn down a better paying job, or frequent business trips, or working late hours. And though I may not like those things, I do them because it feels worth it, because I believe in what I'm a part of here, because I feel that I'm helping advance, because there's no achieving in the infinite game. The goal is not final achievement. The goal is advancing, to progress in the infinite game. And to have that vision of an idealized state of the world that all men are created equal, right? It's an ideal that a nation is striving towards, that will never actually get there, but will die trying. That's the point. And we can offer people the same thing inside an organization. In fact, we have to give them something to advance. Now, how is this different from the why? A why comes from the past. It is an origin story. Every single one of us has our own unique why. It is our birthright. It comes from the sum total of how we were raised as kids. It is objective. You have one, and you have one for the rest of your life. The only one, right? And the rest of our lives are about making the decisions that help us keep in balance with our why. A just cause doesn't come from the past. A just cause is about the future. It's about where we're going, right? You can have multiple just causes. You can have one professionally, you can have one personally, you can have one for your family, you can have one for your church. And we're involved in all of these. There's massive pressure put on people, especially young people, to, what's your vision? Well, we're not all Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. We're not all visionaries. We don't have to have a vision, but we do have to find a vision, that we can find someone else's vision And we are so compelled by it that we want to make it our own. That's what it means to go work for a company with a visionary leader, that we believe in that vision so clearly that we take their vision and we make it our own. And we will happily contribute our work, our effort, in order to advance what is now my vision. Right? Martin Luther King had a vision. He stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and told us his vision, but his vision became our vision. So I may not have come up with that vision, but I found it, and I'd like to devote time and energy to help advance it, even beyond him. We have to give our people a just cause. We have to have trusting teams.
Your vision comes from your purpose, and your purpose comes from your pain. And people ask me all the time, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my... It's one of the #1 questions people have. Well, it's actually pretty easy. To find your purpose, you just have to understand that it comes from your pain. Whatever you struggled with the most as a human being in your life is the thing that you want to help other people through. And that may be something on a big scale, where you want to change the world and make sure that it never happens to anybody else ever again and ease the suffering for others along the journey. If you're watching this video, you're on this channel, it's probably more the way that you lean, but it could also just be the people closest to you, the closest members in your family, your closest friends, the team that you're on, your co-workers. Those are the people who you want to help the most. You don't have to go off and change the world, but you do have to feel like what you do matters. At the end of the day, all of us want to make sure that we wake up and we feel like today's going to matter. When you feel like today matters to somebody, that you're going to be doing work that is in service to other people, that you will matter to them, that what you create today will matter to them, it's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel alive. It's going to make you feel worthy. It's going to make you feel proud of yourself. However, when you wake up and you feel like today doesn't matter, like nobody cares if you show up, that your work will be meaningless, you're just going to toil away and do useless things. We probably all had jobs like that, right? You had a job like that, you woke up, you went to your work, felt like you're just going to plug away, even if you were working hard, but it just didn't matter. There's no appreciation. The work you did didn't matter. It didn't matter if you showed up or not. Right? That's, I think most people, we've at least had a job like that at some point in our past. And that's the path down to feeling worthless and depression, anxiety, and suicide, and a lot of the problems that we're facing. For a lot of people, the biggest problem is just you don't feel like the work you're doing is meaning anything to anybody, and therefore you feel like you don't matter because the work you're doing is not meaning anything to other people. Therefore, you don't matter, because deep down we all want to serve. You were built to serve. We all want to feel like what we do matters. So you don't have to necessarily have a big vision for the world, but you do have to figure out your purpose, and your purpose comes from your pain. So for me, I struggled so much as an entrepreneur, as a 19-year-old, getting this first business off the ground and turning down the big jobs and failing and sucking and making no money and just pouring everything I had into this company and being absolutely broke financially and emotionally. You know, the initial high of I'm going to start a business, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, we're going to do this, we're going to change the world, yeah, was great. And then it wears off when you realize nothing is happening. We're barely getting any customers, we're barely making any money. The high of the launch fades pretty quickly, and then you're in the muck of actually just trying to create things. And I really struggled, and those were the worst days of my life. It led to some of the best days, but just the worst days emotionally, feeling like I was worthless. And so that's why I do what I do, because I want to help all the 19-year-old Evans out there not struggle as much as I struggled, not be as embarrassed to ask for help, not to be as ashamed to feel like a total failure, not to feel like I'm going through this alone, not to have zero mentors and building this up, not to pretend like everything is great when it's not. And it's not only talking to 19-year-olds around the world. You know, it could be you. It could be the 52-year-old woman, you know, who's going through the same thing. It's that emotion. And so I love helping. I've helped a lot of big people with their channels and their businesses, but my heart is really in the startup, because that's where I really struggled the most myself. And so that's what I'm trying to create. And every day I wake up and try to do something else, whether it's a YouTube video or a TikTok or an Instagram or write the book or a speaking engagement, and whatever the next thing is, VR Evan and hologram Evan and 3D Evan and whatever, beam into your living room. This is something forever. When people ask me, how have you not burnt out? How do you keep going? so many years later, thousands of videos later, well, I feel like I'm living my purpose. I record videos on Tuesday. It's another Tuesday. We're sitting here in the car, and my wife is at her acupuncture appointment, and I joined her, and I've got my coffee, and I'm sitting in the car making videos, and this is video number, I don't know how many thousand. And why keep going? Well, because I feel like this video will mean something to at least one person. Maybe it hits 1 million people, maybe it hits one person, but it's going to be valuable to at least one person. And when you can feel that, when you can genuinely feel that you're making something that's going to actually touch at least one human being, man, that's a good addiction to get, you know, to feel like we matter. So think back to what was the most painful moment of your life. You want to find your vision, you want to find your purpose. What's the most painful moment of your life? When did you struggle the most as a human? When did you feel the most worthless, useless? It doesn't mean that you were suicidal, though maybe you were, but also doesn't mean that you were in depression. You know, maybe you were. But when did you just feel the lowest? I never had any suicidal thoughts. I don't think I was depressed either, but I felt really low. When was that moment for you? What were the worst days of your life? And your purpose is then to help other people who are struggling with that very same thing, because you've made it through. And it doesn't mean that you're done growing and learning. I'm still learning, I'm still growing. That's why I still watch videos and make videos, because I'm still learning, and that's great. You want to climb, you climb forever. You never want to stop progressing and stop climbing. That's the whole idea. You know, beyond the mountain there's more mountains. You want to climb forever, swim forever, play the game forever. There is no finish line. That's the best part of it. And every time you take another step, you reach back and you help somebody get to where you're at. And so you've learned a lot of lessons. If you think about who you used to be, go back to that moment where you were struggling the most, and that person, you know, for me, it's probably sitting at my business partner's dining room table, just frustrated, lost, tried everything, nothing's working. How am I here? Why did I say no to that job? Why did I say yes to this? Did I just throw away everything my whole life? You know, it might be overly dramatic, but that's what was going through my mind. So this is what I was actually thinking. So you know, what would I go back and tell that Evan? So for you, what was the most painful moment of your life? Imagine it, picture it, see yourself there. Who are you with? Where are you? You know, what's the setting around you? And imagine you can go back and talk to that person, younger you. You had 15 minutes with that person. What would you say? You could help that person. Right? You don't have to be Simon Sinek or Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or whoever. You can go back and help younger you. You can give them some advice. And in fact, younger you would probably listen to you a lot more than they would listen to me or Simon Sinek or Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or whoever, because you've gone through it. They know who you are. They know that you understand them. And so they need your help. And that's what you create, whether it's making YouTube videos, whether it's some product or service that you end up selling, whether it's joining some other organization who has a similar vision that you're going to tie yourself to. But that's what you want to do. That will make your life meaningful. That will make you feel valuable. That'll make you feel connected to the thing that you're waking up every day doing. I think ultimately that's what makes people happy. So your vision comes from your purpose comes from your pain. And if you felt like you're reaching back and touching younger you and helping make sure that other people don't have to struggle and suffer as much as you did, that's the secret. That's the answer. That's the path to fulfillment, happiness, money, and most importantly, feeling like you are proud of yourself and that you matter.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Good morning, guys. Top 10 rules for success today. Robert Kiyosaki, in his last page, identifies his 10 rules for success, and the one that stands out for me today is number 1. Experience makes you smarter. And then he goes on to talk about good debt versus bad debt and the value of education and understanding how to use it. You see, most of us view debt as a bad thing. We don't want to be in debt. We want to know that we are in the green column, so to speak, that we're moving forward, we're progressing, that we don't owe anything, we're not falling behind. But Robert Kiyosaki shares with us his wisdom of changing our mindset and changing the way we look at that, because he gives his experience when he first, or when he was starting out, he bought property, he bought commercial buildings, and he put nothing down, and he had debt, but every month that money would grow because he invested in something that was going to make his money grow. I hope this helps everyone. Have a great day.
"70 years ago, I was in high school, almost a third as long as the country has been around. And when I was in high school, I really only had 2 things on my mind: girls and cars. and I wasn't doing very well with girls, so we'll talk about cars. But let's just imagine that when we finish, I'm going to let each one of you pick out the car of your choice. Sounds good, doesn't it? Pick it out, any color, you name it. It'll be tied up with a bow, and it'll be at your house tomorrow. And you say, well, what's the catch? And the catch is that it's the only car you're going to get in your lifetime. Now, what are you going to do knowing that that's the only car you're ever going to have and you love that car? You're going to take care of it like you cannot believe. Now, what I'd like to suggest, you're not going to get only one car in your lifetime, but you're going to get one body and one mind, and that's all you're going to get. And that body and mind feels terrific now, but it has to last you a lifetime.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back: a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and get some amazing insights from Warren Buffett. Rule number 2, never give up.
You rejected by Harvard, you went to Columbia Business School, and then you met the man who you really idolized, Ben Graham. And when you took his class, was he as great as you had thought he was going to be?
He really was. He only taught 1 semester, 1 class. I mean, he came up from Wall Street and taught this class. That's the reason I went to Columbia. And I knew I'd already read all the books and everything. But it was inspirational just to be around him, and it made a real difference in my life.
So when you graduated, you wanted to go work for him and his firm, and then he rejected you for an interesting reason. In those days, I understand that there were Jewish firms and non-Jewish firms, and his was a Jewish firm, and you weren't Jewish, so he said because you weren't Jewish, he didn't hire you. Is that right?
That's true. And I was ready to convert, believe me. I think they might have felt it was a little phony at the time. So but it was true that there were very few firms in Wall Street that would hire Jews at that time. And Ben only employed 5 or 6 people. But he told me to the extent that they were able to employ 5 or 6 people, he really felt that the Jews could not get into most jobs in Wall Street, and that they were going to employ only Jews.
You moved back for a while to Nebraska, but then he ultimately changed his mind, and you went to work for Ben Graham.
I kept pestering him. Yeah, I made a real pest of myself.
Rule number 3, choose love over wealth.
How would you define true success?
Well, I've said many times that if you get to be 65 or 70 and later, and the people that you want to have love you actually do love you, you're a success. I've never seen anybody that reaches that age. I mean, I'm not talking about somebody that's in extreme poverty or pain or something, but I've never seen anybody that, if they have a lot of people that love them, that is other than happy. And I've seen some very, very wealthy people that they give testimonial dinners to and name schools after and everything. And nobody loves them.
Rule number 4, be determined to succeed.
I would like to tell you of 2 women that each sold a business to Berkshire Hathaway, to me actually, for many millions of dollars. Both of them started with $2,500. By coincidence, it was the exact same amount. It was everything they had in the world. And one of them was a woman who landed in Seattle in 1917, couldn't speak a word of English, had a tag around her neck. The tag said, Fort Dodge, Iowa. The Red Cross got her to Fort Dodge, where she was reunited with her husband who had come to the country a couple of years earlier. And she lived in Fort Dodge for 2 years, and as she put it, she felt like a dummy. She couldn't pick up the language. She couldn't learn a word. And so she and her husband decided to move to Omaha. So they came to Omaha in 1919, and there she found a small colony of Russian Jews, so she started feeling more at home. And then as her oldest daughter went to school, she would come home, this daughter, Frances, and she would teach her mother the words she'd learned in school that day. And this woman, Rose Blumpkin, spent 20 years saving money, bringing first her siblings over, her mother and father, $50 at a time. She sold used clothing to do it. She had 4 children during this period. And by 1937, after 20 years, she'd saved $2,500. She went to Chicago and she bought what she could of furniture. Her dream had always been to open a furniture store. And this woman who had never gone to school one day in her life, with $2,500, but with the same spirit that the people in this room had about having a dream and working to accomplish that dream, she built a business which she sold to me in 1983 for $60 million approximately, and which did $1.5 billion worth of business last year. The 4th generation is working in that business. This woman, Rose Blumpkin, she worked for me until she was 103. And then she retired and she died the next year, which is a lesson to all of Berkshire's managers that premature retirement, you can't tell what's going to happen. But Mrs. B, with her $2,500, one further fact about her, she could not read or write. And she went into a furniture business, and she didn't bring anything in unique in furniture, but she brought a determination to succeed. She knew she could outwork anyone else. She knew she cared about her customers. She worked at very low gross margins, but she built this incredible business.
Rule number 5, invest in yourself.
By far the best investment you can make is in yourself. I mean, for example, communication skills. I tell the students that come that they're going to graduate schools and business, and they're learning all these complicated formulas and all that. If they just learn to communicate better, and both in writing and in person, they increase their value at least 50%. And I mean, if you can't communicate, somebody says, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens, basically. And you have to be able to get forth your ideas, and that's relatively easy. I did it myself with the Dale Carnegie course. Some people wish I'd taken a shorter course now in terms of my talking later on, but it's just hugely important. And if you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you.
Rule number 6, define your circle of competence.
I have an old-fashioned belief that I should expect to make money in things that I understand. And when I say understand, I don't mean understand, what the product does or anything like that. I mean understand what the economics of the business are likely to look like 10 years from now or 20 years from now. I know, in general, what the economics of, say, Wrigley chewing gum will look like 10 years from now. The internet isn't going to change the way people chew gum. It isn't going to change which gum they chew. You know, if you own the chewing gum market in a big way, and you've got Double Mint and Spearmint and Juicy Fruit, those brands will be there 10 years from now. So I can't pinpoint exactly what the numbers are going to look like on Wrigley, but I'm not going to be way off if I try to look forward on something like that. That evaluating that company is within what I call my circle of competence. I understand what they do, I understand the economics of it, I understand the competitive aspects of the business. Figuring out the economic consequences. TV. I think there's, I don't know, 20, 25 million sets a year sold in the United States. I don't think there's one of them made in the United States anymore. I mean, you'd say TV set manufacturer, what a wonderful business. I mean, everybody, you know, nobody had a TV in 1950, or thereabouts, 45 to 50. Everybody has multiple sets now. Nobody in the United States has made any real money making the sets. They're all out of business. You know, the Magnavoxes, the RCAs, all of those companies. Radio was the equivalent of the over 500 companies making radios in the 1920s. Again, I don't think there's a U.S. radio manufacturer at the present time. But Coca-Cola, you know, what was it, 1884 at Jacobs Pharmacy or whatever, the fellow comes up with something. A lot of copiers over the years. But now you've got a company that is selling roughly 1.1 billion 8-ounce servings of its product, not all Coke, Sprite, and some others, daily throughout the world 117 years later. So understanding the economic characteristics of a business is different than predicting the fact that an industry is going to do wonderfully. And so when I look at the internet businesses, or I look at tech businesses, I say this is a marvelous thing, and I love to play around on the computer, and now I order my books from Amazon and all kinds of things, but I don't know who's going to win. And unless I know who's going to win, I'm not interested in investing. I'll just play around on the computer. And defining your circle of competence is the most important aspect of investing. It's not how important, how large your circle is. You don't have to be an expert on everything. But knowing where the perimeter of that circle of what you know and what you don't know is, and staying inside of it, is all important. Tom Watson Sr., who started IBM, said in his book, he said, I'm no genius, he said, but I'm smart in spots, and I stay around those spots. And you know, that is the key. So if I understand a few things, and I stick in that arena, I'll do okay. And if I don't understand something, but I get all excited about it because my neighbors are talking about it, and stocks are going up and everything, I start fooling around someplace else, eventually I'll get creamed, and I should.
Rule number 7, delight customers.
Henry Ford, as you may know, failed twice before he started the Ford Motor Company in 1903. I mean, the test isn't whether you get the greatest business idea in the world the first time out. The test is whether you keep learning as you go along what your strengths are and what you can do for your customers, what you can bring especially to the party. And to do that, you need a genuine desire day in, day out to delight the customer. I've never seen a business, and I've seen a lot of businesses, but I've never seen one that delights the customer that doesn't succeed. I mean, what you want is that customer the next day when they think, do I want to rent a car or do I want to buy some furniture? What goes through their mind? You know, it's the place where they've had a great experience. I don't know what I paid for this tie. Actually, probably if somebody gave it to me, but for the purposes of this speech, I will say I have no idea. But or the shirt I'm wearing, or this, but I do know. I will remember how I was treated when I bought it. I mean, you long forget about the price, but you never forget whether you had a good experience or a poor experience with the purchase experience.
Rule number 8, have the right framework.
I was wondering if you have any stock tips for any of the students. You know, we're all trying to make a little living.
I didn't think they taught that at Georgetown. The best investment I ever made, well, I bought a book in 1949 by a fellow named Ben Graham called The Intelligent Investor. I don't remember what I paid, But aside from what I paid for my 2 marriage licenses, that was the best investment I ever made. It's very important to have the right framework. You need to have an approach to investing that's sound. And Graham's approach is simple, but some people adopt to it, and which I did immediately, and most people don't. But if you have the right philosophy, you will find opportunities as you go through the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And frankly, you're most likely to find them when in periods like 5 years ago when we were having the panic. I mean, stocks sell at silly prices from time to time. Most stocks at one time or another sell at very silly prices. And it doesn't take a high IQ to figure out that they're cheap, but it does take a temperament that's willing to step up and actually act. I tell people, if they're going into the investment business, if you got 160 IQ, sell 30 points to somebody else because you won't need it. I mean, I figured out very early, you don't have to be that smart in this business, which is fortunate, but you do have to have the right temperament. And you have to be able to ignore what other people are saying and simply look at the facts and decide, is this stock which is selling at X worth 2X? And occasionally you'll find things like that. And when you don't find them, you don't do anything. So that's my generalized stock tip, no names.
Rule number 9, read biographies.
I should mention one thing about reading. It was at the library here at Columbia that I wish I spent probably more time than any other student. I lived there practically. But I pulled the book out there, happened to be Who's Who in America, and it told me something about my professor, Benjamin Graham. And then I looked up and I went to the library and I said, I want to learn more about this because I learned this over here. That changed my whole life. We own Geico now because of that librarian directing me to some other book and then following through on that. It's the chance. I read about 1/5 the pace that Bill does, but I still spend 5 or 6 hours a day reading. I mean, you can learn so much. I particularly love biography. Just to be able to live the lives of these people that have been so extraordinary, the lessons and the discouragements they face, just everything about it. So you can't get enough of reading.
Rule number 10, conquer your fears.
Somebody once said that the chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. I had been terrified of public speaking. I couldn't do it. I'd throw up. And I knew if I didn't cure it then, I'd never cure it. And so I saw an ad in the paper for the Dale Carnegie course, which worked on developing your ability to speak in public. And I went down there.
Be sincere. A good smile has the same effect as a puppy's tail. When a puppy wags.
They made us do all these crazy things to get out of ourselves, and so we stood on tables and did all kinds of things. If I hadn't have done that, my whole life would have been different. So in my office, you will not see the degree I got from the University of Nebraska. You'll not see the master's degree I got from Columbia University, but you'll see the little award certificate I got from the Dale Carnegie course.
Rule number 11, do what you love.
How would you advise people who aren't necessarily going into a career field in which you would make a large base salary, such as like medicine or something like that, maybe performing arts or music? How would you advise us to keep up financially with the rest of the world?
Well, it is true that a market system does not pay as well in some activities as might seem appropriate for the importance of those activities to society. Just take teaching, for example. I mean, teaching does not pay well. And what could be more important? I mean, you've got to be as interested in who the teachers of your children are as who your accountant is, or whatever, or who's winning the heavyweight title of the world, or that sort of thing. But it doesn't pay well, and it's a fundamental choice whether you're going to go into something, for many people, it'd be a fundamental choice, whether you're going to go into something you love or something to try and make a lot of money. I think that generally it pays to go with what you love. I think that it's very hard to find people when they get to be my age who say that they've loved what they've done all their life and feel it was very worthwhile, but they're terribly sad they made that choice because they didn't make a lot of money. I don't think anybody's ever said that to me, that they wish they'd gone into something else where they were uncomfortable doing it or didn't enjoy it, didn't feel very productive, but made a lot of money. So I don't think you'll find that. So I would go to work. I would go to work in whatever turns you on. It may turn out that it'll be more profitable than you can think, but almost everybody here will make enough money, unless they get some terrible habits along the way, to do reasonably well. And doing reasonably well in this country really is pretty darn good. I mean, it's not necessary to have huge amounts of money in order to enjoy yourself. I enjoyed myself when I had my $10,000, and I live in the same house that I lived in when I had about that. I bought it 41 years ago. I liked the house then. I like the house now. I mean, if you think about it, if you have a reasonable job, you'll be eating at McDonald's and I'll be eating at McDonald's. So we're at a push on food. I mean, you know, in fact, I hope it's Dairy Queen, actually, and and if you come to Dairy Queen, you'll see me. And you can order anything on the menu I can order, and we both can afford it. You know, you'll wear the same clothes I wear. I'll pay more for my suits, but as soon as I put them on, they look cheap on me. So we'll look about the same. And, we'll both live in the same kind of houses. I live in that house from 41 years ago, and it's warm in winter, and it's cool in summer, and it's comfortable. And you'll live in a house that's similar. And what difference does it make if you have 50 more rooms or, you know, guest houses or all that? You know, it'll probably just bring you problems. I mean, you have to worry about the greenskeeper or something when you get through. So I have been in the houses of people where the houses are worth, probably 200 times what my house is worth, and I would not be any happier in those houses at all. In fact, I'd be less happy. I'd just have one more thing to worry about, and, you know, dozens of people around the place, and people quitting, and people stealing from you, and all kinds of things. To hell with it, you know. We'll drive the same kind of car. In fact, you'll probably drive a better car. I drive a car that's about 8 years old. I don't know what it's worth now, but it gets me around fine. I mean, I'm perfectly happy. We'll watch the same television, you know. We'll work on the same computer pretty much. The only difference will be how we travel long distances. You know, I will fly in a plane that's more comfortable than flying Southwest Airlines or something, which I've got nothing against. But that's the one real big difference. And other than that, I do what I like every day. I hope you'll do what you like every day to do. And I work with nice people. I hope you work with nice people. And there's 24 hours in the day, and those are where the hours go. So great wealth is the tiniest bit different in a real sense than having just a decent income. And to trade a decent income and something you love doing and something where you feel worthwhile doing it for huge wealth where you trade off a lot of your principles would be a terrible mistake.
And rule number 12, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is have discipline.
You don't need 150 IQ to do what I do. Thank God. You know, you don't need 140. You don't need 135. You may need 115 or something like that. But you do need discipline. You have to wait until you see the fat pitch to swing at. Because investing is a no-called strike game. You know, if I were a baseball player and I only like pitches 2 inches above my navel, you know, some guy could learn that and he could pitch me, you know, 3 or 4 inches below that, and I get called out on strikes because I never find a pitch I like. You can get called out on strikes in baseball. You have to swing at pitches that you don't even necessarily like, particularly after the count gets to 2 strikes. In business, you don't have to swing at anything. You can sit there and the paper says General Motors at 68, or it says General Electric at 115, or it says General Dynamics at 63. And if you don't like those prices, you don't have to swing. You can wait there day after day after day after day, and there are no called strikes. Now, when you swing, when you decide to buy something, then, you know, if you swing and miss, it's a strike. But
It's a marvelous game to be in because there are no called strikes, and you can simply wait for that one time in a month or 6 months or a year or 2 or 3 years when you really know what you're doing, where you like the price, where you like the people running the business, and then you swing, and you only need a few swings in your lifetime.
Good morning, guys. All right, I want to share a funny story with you today. This made me laugh when I saw it. This is from Evan Carmichael. You guys know I'm a big fan. He's a mentor for me. And when I went to his last filming session, he showed myself and another young lady that was there his painted nails as a way of showing, and those of you that follow him will know the story anyhow, but he's got these painted nails right now, and it's not something he felt comfortable doing, but he did it anyway, and he was trying to prove to himself and to everyone, help everyone understand, you got to get out of your comfort zone. But when I first saw it firsthand, and he showed me, and I looked at it, I thought, wow, that looks funny. But then I was laughing because I thought, good for him, and amazing in terms of the inspiration for me. Once we get uncomfortable, actually we can have a lot of fun with it because we can laugh about it. So, you know, that's one of the big things for us to grow and be on this path of infinite mind wealth. Have a great day, everyone.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Bruce Lipton, and my take on his top 50 rules for success. Enjoy.
Money is the equivalent of energy, so you can buy energy with your cash. And the significance about that is if you're frugal and take care of your money and keep a balance, then you always have this energy in your bank account, energy in which you can live. However, obviously, if you waste this energy, then you actually interfere with your own survival. So you don't really want to go out and just throw away your money. And so basically, I really want to show you that this is an important insight into the nature of our own health and our biology and the world we create in this regard. That our biological system, the cells, rely on energy. Without energy, there's no life. So fundamentally, you have an energy budget that gives you life. And in fact, in the body, energy is in coins called ATP, molecules that represent units of energy. So in fact, biologists refer to ATP as the coin of the realm. The significance of ATP is this, is that ATP molecules are like units of gasoline, like gallon of gas, that are used to fuel our biological processes. So to stay alive, we have to have all this ATP. So there's an ATP account in your body right now. But the question is, how do you use this ATP? And now here's an important fact, that 25% of the total energy in your whole body is used to operate your brain. So all of a sudden you start to recognize that the brain uses energy at the rate of muscles of a marathon runner. So brain and muscle activity are pretty much the same. And so why is it important? Because as you're using your brain, as you're using your thinking, you are actually using energy. Now, why is this relevant? The answer is very simply this. Because the way we've been using our thoughts are not necessarily productive. As a matter of fact, sometimes our investments of our thoughts are actually counterproductive because our thoughts create a reality that we then have to overcome. So basically it says that we must start to become aware of our thoughts. And why is this important? Because thoughts represent units of energy. Every time you have a thought, you use energy. Why this becomes relevant is, if I give you a checkbook for your bank account, you don't go down the street and just write checks to people like, oh, hey, you're a nice looking guy, here's 10 bucks for you, and oh, here, little girl, go out and buy yourself a little car, here's $1,000 for you. And you don't give away your money. Why? Because giving away your money is giving away your life. So basically, you become very frugal when you have a checkbook in your hand. Now what I'm trying to tell you is this. You have an energy budget in your body. The energy is what keeps you alive. When you start using energy and writing checks where you get no return from your energy, then it's exactly the same as writing checks out of your bank checkbook and giving away your cash. So why this becomes important is the biology of belief reveals how our thoughts create our reality. And if you start investing in thoughts that are counterproductive, thoughts like fear, or what am I going to do, and how am I going to escape this problem, or how is this going to go wrong, and all these other kinds of thoughts that are negative kinds of thoughts, then realize this: you are actually not just using your energy for having these thoughts, but these thoughts are also what come into your reality. What you focus on with your thoughts, your brain will manifest as reality. And in 1925, physicists said that our vision of a universe split into an invisible energy realm and a material physical realm was a total illusion. That everything is energy. The whole thing, there is no matter in this world. And to summarize what the meaning was, a famous physicist in 1930 by the name of Sir James Jeans said, "We have been led to believe that the universe is a great machine, when in fact it is more a great thought." And the reality about that was quantum physicists have established since 1925 that consciousness is the primary mechanism of creativity of the world that we experience. In fact, a more recent article in the journal Nature, which is like a scientific mainstream journal, was an article by a quantum physicist at Johns Hopkins University by the name of Richard Conn-Henry. And his article was entitled "The Mental Universe." I know the last two lines in the article because they were like so powerful. And here's what the conclusion of the article was. The universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. And this is so exciting because science is coming out saying it mental and spiritual. It's like, oh my God. But that's the quantum physics part. And the reality about it, why is that so important, as Sadhviji had just mentioned, it's our thoughts that are manifesting this world. Now you could say that's a spiritual thing, and now I say not only is it spiritual, now it is fundamental basic science of the universe. And it says then the thoughts are creative. Well, if the thoughts are creative, then who is having the thought? And you start to realize, I'm having the thought. Well, then the truth is simple, as Richard Conn-Henry said, you are creating this world with your mental activity and your spirituality combined. And then all of a sudden it says, well, then if I'm creating the world, then my original belief that when things didn't go right, I was a victim. The universe wasn't supporting me. You know, it's like, oh, I try so hard and the universe is not giving me things. It turns 180 degrees around. And it basically says this: we are creating this world. And then I say, your mind is creating this world. I was looking for relationships. I kept failing at them, okay? I end up in the Caribbean teaching at a medical school. The universe throws this into my lap. The perfect pickup line in the whole world is sort of like, hey, if you're not doing anything, you want to come and stay in my villa in the Caribbean and hang out? I have a villa on the beach and I got my own place and blah, blah, blah. And I still wasn't able to find anybody. But I kept looking because I said, I need a relationship. I need a relationship. So I meet this woman who comes off of some yacht, and she's, you know, got a future that's like she'll do what she wants. And I thought, well, if you're not doing anything, why don't you, you want to come and stay with me in my villa on this beautiful island? She looked at me, and then she said, I can't be with you. And I sort of like stopped for a moment. And she looked at me and she said, you're too needy. And all of a sudden, it hit me. I said, oh my God, what am I looking for? A relationship. Why? Because you're not happy. So if you're looking for a relationship because you're not happy, then you're depending on that relationship to make you happy. So that's not a nice relationship. It's codependency. If I give you this place to stay, you will make me happy. That's a trade. You know, it's like, yes. And after she said that, I was stunned for a moment. I can't be with you. You're too needy, she said. And I was stunned. And then all of a sudden I said, thank you. Thank you very much. It was sort of a slap in the face, right?
It's like a blessing in disguise, right?
It totally was. It was like, wake up. And I walked away from that. And I looked at my life and I said, you got this most amazing job. You teach a couple days a week. You live in the Caribbean. You got a villa. You got money in your pocket because you get paid and there's nothing to buy in the Caribbean anyways. I say, you're healthy. You got money. You got a great place to live. You have the most wonderful job. I go, you can't be happy with that? That's what I said to myself. I said, how can I, I'm looking for this person to make me happy. I said, oh, no, first I make me happy.
Yeah.
And then when I make me happy, that changed, and it did. What happened is I stopped bitching and started to enjoy. Look, don't you love where you live? Yeah, I love where I live. Do you love the sea? Oh, I love the sea. You like it? Oh, I love my job. And all of a sudden I started focusing on, hey, these are things I love. And guess what? I didn't need anybody.
That's when you created abundance, and that's when people became attracted to you, right?
100%, because once I didn't need them, I wasn't like, come here. I was like, I don't care.
It's fascinating how it works.
Then they showed up. They showed up because I did not need. That was the word. Because need puts pressure on that other person that they have to provide. And then they didn't have to provide. It was like, hey, let me hang out with you. I don't have to provide anything. I could just be me. I go, yeah, you be you, I be me. We have a great time. And that was the beginning of reprogramming a need for a relationship until I was happy with myself. And until that, once I was happy with myself and I didn't need a relationship, you should have seen how many opportunities showed up that were never there in my life before because the need part pushed them away. I was cloning stem cells back in 1967, 40 years ago. And the significance was, while I was doing this research, I was also teaching medical students. So I was teaching medical students the foundation of how cells work, the conventional story out of the textbook, genes control life, what we call the genetic determinism, the belief that genes control your traits, behavior, your physical characteristics, etc. And what my research revealed when I was studying the stem cells was this, very profound. I put one stem cell in a petri dish all by itself, and it would divide every 10 to 12 hours. So it'd be 2, 4, 8, 16 cells, 32 cells. After about 2 weeks, I have thousands of cells in the petri dish, but what was unique? They were all genetically identical. But then I did the experiment. The experiment was to take some cells out of the dish and put them into a separate dish with a different environment. Okay. And so the environment is a culture medium, but the culture medium to cells is like the world that we live in. It's got the air, the water, the food, all the things in it. So I take the cells out of my stem cell dish, put them in a separate dish with a different environment, and the cells form muscle. But then I went back to the same dish with genetically identical cells in it and took some cells out and put them in a different environment, and they form bone. And then I went back to the same dish with genetically identical cells and put them in a third petri dish with a different environment, and they form fat cells. And there I was confronted with this reality. All the cells are genetically identical, but they had different fate, fat, muscle, bone. I said, simple question, what controls the fate of cells? And the answer is the environment. It was the only thing that was different because they were all genetically identical. So I started to really say, oh my goodness, here I am teaching genes control life to the medical students. And yet the cells were revealing to me that, hey, they all had the same genes, but it was the environment that I put them in. And so the environment controlled their life. And a very simple experiment that is very profound for us today is, if I took my dish with plastic petri dish with cells in it and moved it from a healthy environment to a less than healthy environment, the cells get sick. And if I were a doctor of cells, you might say, well, what kind of drugs would you give these cells? And it turns out, no, you don't give the cells any drugs. You just take the dish from the bad environment, put it back into a good environment, and the cells will innately, naturally come back to health again.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
the science that says there are two minds that are operating at the same time. One is called the conscious mind, and one is called the subconscious mind. I say, what's the difference? The conscious mind is where you are as a spirit, an entity, a unique identity. You are in that conscious mind and perceiving the world. I say, what about the subconscious mind? It's not a creative mind. The subconscious mind is habits, things that you've learned and you've experienced in your life, and they become habits. So the subconscious mind is not thinking, creating. It's subconscious mind, push the button, play the behavior. So here's the point. When we are in our conscious mind, we are connecting our spirituality to the biology and the physical planet that we're in. And that is a creative mind. That's the one you wake up in the morning and say, oh, I wish I had this and I desire that, and these are the things I want. And then you go out and start the day, and then guess what? 95% of the day, you are not operating from the conscious mind. Science has recognized 95% of the day, because we are thinking 95% of the day, our behavior is now controlled by the subconscious mind. I go, okay, so what's the difference? And the final conclusion of this is the conscious mind with your creativity has your wishes and your desires. The subconscious mind was programmed by other people. Your mother, your father, your siblings, and your community. So what is the difference? You wake up with a wish and a desire of what you want, and then the rest of the day, you play the programs that you got from other people that don't answer your wishes and don't support your desires, and all you see is the consequence of it and go, oh my God, why is it not working? And the answer is because you don't see, because remember, the name is subconscious, below conscious. So when that behavior is playing, psychologists will tell us 70% or more of the programs in the subconscious are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting behaviors. So the simple reality is this: we have great wishes and desires, and yet our life is not controlled by that. Our life is controlled by the programming, and that programming is the disempowering program. So all you see is the consequence of the invisible subconscious, which will sabotage all the desires and wishes you have. And then to conclude that, what if you just didn't default to the subconscious? What if you just stayed in the conscious mind? That's called being mindful. And why is it relevant? Because when you stay conscious, keep your mind present, you are the creator of your life. And when people are in mindfulness, they manifest their wishes, their desires, and their happiness. So for all of us, it's sort of a wake-up call. You think you're running your life with your wishes and desires. It's an illusion. You're really running your life with your programs acquired from other people. Well, how do you change the subconscious mind? I say, how did it learn in the first place? I say, what was the first one? I say, theta. 7 years. Brain was functioning lower vibration than consciousness. You have to slow down the brain to a much slower vibration. Then it goes into the subconscious mind. That's why hypnotherapists in the old days, they had a watch and they would swing it back and forth. So the watch would swing and they would tell the person, you're getting sleepy, you're getting tired. And the reason they say that is because that shuts down the conscious vibration. And the next vibration is theta, which is hypnosis. So to get you into hypnosis, first I have to get your conscious brain to stop. Mm-hmm. And then in hypnosis state theta, the vibration theta, then whatever is coming from the outside is not going into my conscious mind. Whatever I see on the outside is going into my subconscious program. So if you want to change the subconscious, you have to talk to the subconscious. I go, how do you do that? Well, number one, hypnosis. And I go, oh, well, I need to see the hypnotherapist? I go, no, this is the cool part. Mm-hmm. I say, why? I said, we have different vibrations. The lowest vibration is delta, is sleep. The next higher vibration is theta, hypnosis, imagination. The next higher vibration is alpha, calm consciousness. And the next higher vibration is called beta, which is like schoolroom, like what we're doing here, consciousness, okay? I go, so why is it relevant? I say, when you're asleep, you're at the lowest, and when you start to wake up, you go up first to theta. And that's like in the morning where you're half awake and half asleep. And then I say, but then when you're awake, you're in alpha. Now you're in consciousness. And then when you go to work, you're in beta, which is like the working consciousness. But when you come home, it reverses. So I come home from work, I'm in beta, but I relax. Oh, the consciousness vibration slows down to alpha. And here's the fact. The moment that the vibrations get a little lower than alpha, consciousness is now shut off for the night. You're sleeping. Yeah, but there's a period of time after alpha shuts off before it reaches delta, the lowest one. There's a period of time of theta. I go, why is it relevant? I said, you put earphones on. And the moment, and you play a program of what? Of what you want. A self-help program of make a relationship, be healthy, do a job, whatever. You get the program, self-help program. I say, you put it on a CD player, let's say, and you put the earphones on. And while you're still awake, just before you go to sleep, you can hear what's going on. But the moment you fall asleep, conscious mind shut off, but guess what? Theta is on.
The work is getting done, right?
Right, it's good. You're getting a self-hypnosis to the earphone. So whatever you didn't hear it, you were sleeping. The subconscious mind was hearing it. And when you repeat that, that's how you put a new program in. So that's number one, self-hypnosis.
I had tenure. at the university. I walked out of the university and said, look, I can't keep my integrity. And at the same time, teach something I know was patently wrong. So I walked out because I saw that teaching the belief that genes control life was very, very incorrect. And it's very interesting because I did that in 1970. Now that's like 30, 40 years ago. When we look at our lives, and I tell you that 95% of your life is coming from the subconscious program. This is not, it's new on a scientific awareness of how this mechanism works. But what's interesting is for 400 years, the knowledge that you can program somebody and control their lives has been available. It was the Jesuits who 400 years ago said, give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. Most people didn't understand what they were saying. And what it is the first 7 years, which we now know biologically and scientifically is the program period. They knew that 400 years ago. And they said, if I can get that program in the first 7 years, that program will determine the life of that individual. I'll show you the man because they will represent the program. Now, the really important part is since every one of us has been programmed, the big issue is, so what were those programs? Because if I ask you, so what program did you get when you were 1 year old? I have no idea. I wasn't really there. In fact, you were actually being programmed even before you were born, the last trimester of pregnancy. You were being programmed. And I go, well, this is really a critical issue because the first thing I'm telling you is your life is 95% programmed, and most of that is really disempowering. And of course, the first thing I would think is, then what are those programs so I could deal with them? So I want to make something very easy for you so you don't have to go and review your whole life and try to figure out what the programs are. Save you a lot of time. The fact is this. You are playing the program 95% of the day, meaning your life is a printout of your program. So you don't have to go back in time to review. That would just actually irritate the system more because every time you review those things that unsettled you when you were younger, it just reinforces that same pain that you had earlier. So going back and finding out who did what to who, is more than just a waste of time. It actually will set you back. As a matter of fact, there's an old phrase that people have heard, and it says, don't kill the messenger over the message. What that means is this. Don't go back and blame all the people that did this and that and that and that. That's irrelevant. Who they are is irrelevant. What's relevant is what program did you walk away with, not who did the event, but what you learned. So now I said, okay, I've been programmed and I have no idea what the program is. I said, then look at your life and here's the simple resolution.
Everything in your life that you like and it comes to you is because you have a program to support that. That's wonderful. That means that's great. It's going to come to you because that program is bringing it to you. But in contrast, this is the one that's important. Anything you work hard to accomplish, anything you struggle over to make it happen, anything you put a lot of effort in, I want this, I'm going to work like crazy, I'm going to get this. My first question is, why are you working so hard? And the answer is very simple. Anything you're struggling to try to accomplish, whether it's health or love, relationships, whatever it is, if you're struggling, it represents a simple fact. Your subconscious programming doesn't support that conclusion. So the fact is, what are my programs? Look at your struggle. And wherever you're struggling, the struggle is not because the universe won't provide for you. The struggle is an internal job. The struggle is you're trying to overcome previous programming that prevents you to go to that destination. So the wonderful part about this understanding is you don't have to review your life. You can look right now. At this one moment, just look in your head and say, what are the things that I keep trying to get and they seem to be elusive? I can't get them. They're always out of reach. I say, the universe is not holding back. It's your own invisible subconscious behavior. When you're putting in a wish and a desire, put it in as if you already have it. I am healthy. I am a good relationship person. I have a great job. What's that? I say, it's like I already have it. And yet most people don't have it. So they'll say, I want a great job. I want a great relationship. I want to be healthy. And I go, make a recording of those words. We just said that. I want to be healthy. Today, right now, Tuesday, we're going to make a recording. I say, now come back in 1 year and let's push the button on that recording. And we come back a year later and it says, I want to be healthy. I go, it's a whole year and you still want to be healthy.
Still don't have it, right?
You didn't say I am healthy. All you're emphasizing, I have a desire to be healthy. I want to be healthy. I have a desire to be healthy. And I go, you can have that desire the rest of your life. You're not going to get healthy. You want to be healthy, you say, I am healthy. But then you look and say, yeah, but in reality, I'm sick. And I go, no. The function of the mind is to take the program and turn it into reality. So if I am sick, but I put a program in, I am healthy, the mind looks, like, well, wait a second. The program is I am healthy, but the body is not healthy. So what's the function of the mind? Create health in the body. It doesn't change the program. It changes the body. And so the idea is this. Every time we put a program in, it has to be as if you already have it, in spite of the fact you could be dying of cancer. I go, I am healthy. It sounds kind of weird. And I go, don't worry about it. Just put it on I am healthy, because once it is a program, the function of the mind is to manifest it as reality. That's the part. And so my little caveat, you brought it up, I'm emphasizing it, and that was simply this. That whatever you're downloading, you have to say it as if you already have it. Because if you put a future tense on it, I will, I want, I say, if you record that, that means you will always want to have it. I will do this. You won't get there. So I just wanted to bring that in, because if we're making a program, then you must make sure it says as if you already have it, in spite of the fact you don't. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, the dead man's on the la la la, the la la la. Oh wow, what a glorious day to be sailing on the sea. I think I should be checking my bearings at this point. North by northwest, that's right. Hank told me, take a left at the island, then follow north by northwest until I go toward the sunset. But it should be here somewhere. Kong Island should be somewhere, but it's not here. I think I better check my calculations again. So I left Port Moresby at 12, and going at 8 knots, by 12:35 we should have been over here, take the left at the island, and then we follow the tangent of the cosine of 381 for 8 minutes to the right, and then we should be approaching toward Kong Island. Uh-oh. I'm lost at sea. What should I do now? I knew I should have trusted my feelings when Hank gave me directions. It just didn't even feel right. And in today's world, we're told, don't go by the feelings. If I did, I would have probably been better off at this moment. So when we recognize we have to make a decision, we can do it in two fundamental ways. First, do an assessment, an analysis of step by step, what does this decision mean and why should I choose it? But when you get to the end, before you absolutely take that information and make a decision based on that, ask your heart. And the reason why is this: the heart doesn't care about the individual steps in the decision. The heart only looks at the conclusion. Either you get more energy from this decision, a good vibe, a feeling that this is right, or the heart will give you a feeling of bad vibes, less energy, a feeling that maybe this isn't the right answer. So the significance is really profound because the heart just reads energy. And higher energy is more life, less energy is less life. So in making a decision, yes, it's acceptable to do the analysis, but before you come to that final decision, please check in with your heart. Feel the feelings. If the feelings are good, that means go toward that direction. But if you feel questioned about it, you feel weaker about it, doesn't just feel right, the heart is telling you right off that that energy is not good for you and you should use some other decision. Oh, wow. That's so wonderful. What a wonderful way to make a decision based on these feelings. And they can help us find the direction that we need to go in and lead us to a better life. Uh-oh. I guess that's not really working for me at this moment. Whoops. Oh, well. Computer, end simulation. Scotty, how many times have I told you not to leave me off at sea? You know I can't swim. Meet me at the bridge. You have some splaining to do. I don't care how much knowledge is in your head. If that knowledge doesn't go into your subconscious, your life will stay exactly the same as it was. You can be the brightest, smartest academic. And I say, fine, did it change your life? And the answer is no. You have to take the knowledge that you are walking within your conscious mind and put that knowledge into your subconscious programming. And when you do that, you are all powerful in the creation of your own life. And so just walking around and being able to recite all these wonderful sayings and things that you hear from all the wonderful teachers that we have, and you say, oh, yes, I remember that. That's a good quote. That's a nice quote. Oh, that's a wonderful saying. It's irrelevant until that saying becomes part of your program, because now you are living from the saying and not talking about the saying. And that was the total transformation of a life that on an academic level was successful, on a personal level, I don't even want to talk about that, but it changed everything. Why? Because instead of having to chase after life, after this understanding, things came to me. The light will bring it to you. The only thing that's in your way of the light is a block in your belief that other people have put into your programming. You take your knowledge that you have, make it your subconscious program, and you will manifest all of the wonderful spiritual wisdom that you have heard throughout your whole life. Is not words now. It is life and behavior, and that's our destination. Everything you do in your life, you put out energy for. Therefore, start to review what you're doing in your life. Because if you're putting your energy into things you cannot change in this world, that is exactly the same as writing a check and just throwing away your money to the outside because you get nothing back from it. So think about this very interesting reality, that you have this energy checkbook. And every time you use energy, you have to say, is the use of this energy going to enhance my life, or is it just wasted energy? Am I getting involved in a political argument with people where I'm going to use up all my energy, and will I have changed the world? No. Am I going to use up all my energy to try to convince other people to change their life or change their way of living to make them even healthier, and they're not ready to do that? I'd be wasting my energy. So here's an interesting thought. If I gave you an energy checkbook and asked you to write a check every time you had to have a thought, you would have to then ask yourself, is this thought going to enhance my life, or is this thought going to take away from my life? And then when you start to realize that, you start to direct your actions where you put your energy into things that enhance your life and give you an opportunity to survive and to go beyond survival and really into thriving. So the point is this, we are facing some rough times. The more thoughts you put into the negative aspect, the more thoughts you put into the fear, not only are you just wasting your energy, but as in the biology belief, these negative thoughts, these negative stresses actually impair your immune system and bring on disease itself. The thinking is not that much in our control. The brain is operating, as I said, 95% from the subconscious.
But how did you actually then get results in a relatively short space of time?
Well, the first thing, how does the subconscious learn? That's a very critical thing. The conscious mind can learn from reading a book. So the subconscious mind can read a self-help book and you go, wow, that sounds really great. And then you find you read the book, but your life is still the same. And it turns out, why? And the answer is because the subconscious mind is more of a habit mind, things that you repeat over and over again. Yes. Yeah. So the reality is, if you can stay conscious, be present, and when those negative thoughts come in our head, and psychologists tell us 70% of the time, the thoughts that are going through our head are negative and redundant, so the same negative thoughts are going through. If you could stop those thoughts, if you could hear them as they come through, like, oh, that's not going to work, or this will never happen, those kind of thoughts. If you can hear them and stop them consciously, say, no, change the belief right there, just give the more positive thing. As you repeat this more frequently and you keep repeating it, the subconscious mind begins to learn. So as a habit, if you stay conscious, and you have to work at it, and here's why people say, well, how come only 5% from conscious mind, 95% from subconscious? Because the conscious mind can think into the future and think into the past and solve problems. Then think about it yourself. Most of the time, you're thinking about something. Well, if you're thinking, you're using the conscious mind. Well, if you're using the conscious mind for thinking, then who's running the show? And the answer is, when you're not paying attention and you're thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, your subconscious is running the show. Jesus told his followers, all the miracles that I can do, you can do them, but even better than I can, and you don't believe it. And that was the whole damn thing in a nutshell. If you don't believe it, you can't do it. And I said, well, where's belief come from? Mind. I say, and then what if you've been programmed you can't do it? And I said, then you'll never be able to do it. And this is the problem. And so we talked about way number one. You want to change it? Hypnosis, because that's the original way things went in the first place. And that what you said was true. Even you just say, I feel amazing, I feel amazing. If you repeat that, the mind will all of a sudden change how you feel. That's how it does it, okay? So I say, number one, self-hypnosis. Number two, after age 7, you still learn how to do new things that become habits. Like, you didn't learn how to drive a car until later than 7. But once you know how to drive a car, remember the first day you got in, it was like, oh my God, looking out the windows, checking the mirror, watching the gauges, keeping your feet on the pedals just correctly, looking, paying all these attentions, like, and I say, today you've been driving for a while. You don't even think about that. You get in the car, you put the key in, and now what are you thinking about? Well, what am I going to do when I get to the store? You're not even thinking about driving. Why? It's a habit. Okay. I say, well, how'd you get that habit? Because you're older than 7. How'd you get it? I say, repetition. That's what makes a habit. Practice. You want to play an instrument? I'll hand you an instrument. Yeah, you didn't have any practice, then you're not going to be able to play it. And I say, oh, practice. I say, what is that? Repetition. That's the second way the subconscious learns. Repeating something over and over and over again, because that's called habituation, making a habit. And I love it. The new age today thing is fake it till you make it. I go, what the hell is that? I say, you're not happy. Yeah, most of us have trouble being happy. And I say, but what if every day, all day long, and you can remember, you say, I am happy. In spite of the fact that what the hell is going on, you just say, I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. I go, why? What's going on? I say, repetition. And there'll be a point where you'll repeat it to the degree that the subconscious, which learns by repetition, will put in, I am happy. I say, then what's the consequence? I say, what's the function of the mind? Take that program and manifest it. Now that it's in there, I am happy. I wake up one morning and guess what? I don't have to say I'm happy. It's automatic. I'm already happy all day long. Why? My program said that. 95% is coming from that. Habituation. repetition of the exact thing you want, not future vision, as if you have it now. We'll put it in a program. So that's first 7 years hypnosis. After 7 years, repetition, habituation is how you change it. A sticky note, people put that stuff on a mirror or someplace and they go, oh yeah, the little sticky note. And I go, that is not repetition. That's a suggestion. A repetition is a practice. You have to repeat things. You practice an instrument, you practice driving a car, you practice doing these things, and then it became real. Okay, so the first two things are hypnosis. Second thing is repetition. And thirdly, the most, effective is called energy psychology. And I go, what's energy psychology? And I go, it's called super learning. I go, so what the hell is super learning? I go, maybe you've seen somebody read a book by picking up a book and just moving their finger down the page, just like that, just as fast as that. And guess what? The subconscious mind, the supercomputer that it is, has read every word just by moving your finger down that, has read every word on that page. And a person using this super learning technique can go into a bookstore, open up a book, and 5 minutes later, by thumbing through each page, turn the page, turn the page, turn the page, they can read a whole book in 5 minutes. That's super learning. I say, if you can engage that function, you can also use super learning to create new programs, not in days or weeks, but you can create a new program in minutes. It's like, I go, absolutely. And it's so important. Why? Because there's an old phrase that's really critical. It's called necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. And I say, what's happening? We're facing a mass extinction due to human behavior that is compromising the web of life. Humans are creating this through our behavior, our culture. I say, you want to survive this whole, extinction event? Well, then you have to create something different. You have to change behavior. I was a scientist, and as a scientist,